So when you picture Greenland, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's this massive, icy island. Maybe you know it's connected to Denmark somehow. But its actual political status? Well, that's one of the most unique and misunderstood situations in the world. So today, let's unravel the real story of Greenland. First things first, we've got to talk about a huge misconception, and it has to do with Greenland's size. You've seen the standard world map a million times, right? The Mercator projection? Well, while it's fantastic for sailing, it totally warps the areas near the poles. It makes Greenland look absolutely enormous, like bigger than Africa. But that visual, it's completely lying to you. So just how big is it really? In reality, Greenland's land area is about 836,000 square miles. Now, to put that into perspective, it's actually pretty similar in size to Mexico. Yeah, Mexico. That's a huge difference from what that world map in your classroom led you to believe.
But here's where it gets even crazier. That vast Mexico-sized land is practically empty. While Mexico is home to around 128 million people, Greenland has a population of only about 56,000. 56,000! That makes it the least densely populated place on the entire planet. All that space for a population that would barely fill a large sports stadium.
A massive territory with such a tiny population, this completely unique situation is really the key to understanding its equally unique political status. And the answer to how it all works is wrapped up in a concept called the Danish Realm. So what is the Danish Realm? Well, think of it as one single sovereign state, but it's made up of three distinct parts, three constituent countries. You have Denmark itself, you have the Faroe Islands, and of course you have Greenland. It's kind of like a single team, but with three different star players. And here is the single most important thing to understand. Greenland is a self-governing country within this kingdom. Yes, for a very long time it was a Danish colony, but that officially ended way back in 1953. The way things are set up today is a partnership, a form of autonomy. It is not a colonial relationship. And, this isn't just some symbolic title on a piece of paper. Greenland has a real voice, a real seat at the table in the central government. In fact, it has two. That's the number of representatives Greenland gets to elect to the Danish parliament, which is called the Folketing. This ensures their interests are part of the realm's bigger political conversation.
But how did this unique relationship even happen? I mean, it wasn't a sudden change. It was the result of a journey that stretches back 1,000 years, a story full of Norse explorers, major European treaties, and a slow, steady move from being a possession to being a partner.
This timeline really hits the key moments. The story starts around 985 with the first Norse settlement. Then you fast forward to 1814 and there's the Treaty of Kiel. This was crucial because it kept Greenland tied to the Danish crown even when Norway split off. Then comes 1953, a huge year when the colonial status officially ends. And then the most recent major step was in 2009 with the Self-Government Act that created the system we see today. It's also important to remember that Denmark's sovereignty wasn't always a sure thing. After Norway became fully independent, it actually disputed Denmark's claim to Greenland. The whole thing went to the Permanent Court of International Justice, which in 1933 ruled decisively in favor of Denmark. That really solidified the legal claim in the modern world. Okay, so we've established that Greenland is self-governing. But what does that actually mean in practice? Who's in charge of what? Well, this is where the all-important division of powers comes in. Honestly, the simplest way to think about it is a split in responsibilities. The Greenlandic government, which has its own parliament and its own prime minister, handles most of the internal domestic stuff. Meanwhile, the Danish government in Copenhagen holds on to control over the big picture realm affairs, the things that affect the entire kingdom. So let's look at what's on Greenland's plate. They manage the things that affect daily life for their citizens, things like the education system, healthcare, the absolutely vital fishing industry, environmental policies, and even some aspects of the justice system. And on the other side of the coin, these are the heavy-hitting statehood responsibilities that stay with Denmark. We're talking about national defense and security, foreign policy on the world stage, the rules for who gets to be a citizen, and control over the currency and the entire monetary system. These are the classic pillars of a sovereign state. So all of this naturally leads us to the future. Is this current arrangement permanent? Is it set in stone? Not at all. In fact, there is a clear, established legal path for Greenland to one day become a fully independent and sovereign nation, if that's what its people choose. This whole idea was captured perfectly back in 2019.
You might remember when the US president offered to buy Greenland. Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, gave this incredibly powerful and direct response. It really highlights the core belief in modern Danish politics. The final decision about Greenland's future belongs to the Greenlandic people, period.
And look, this isn't just a nice political sentiment. It's written into law. The Self-Government Act of 2009 explicitly says that Greenlanders are a distinct people under international law. And that recognition comes with a powerful legal tool, the right to self-determination, the right to choose their own destiny.
In fact, the path to independence is already laid out. It's a clear two-step process. Step 1, the people of Greenland themselves have to make the decision, most likely through a referendum. And step 2, if they vote yes, that decision would kick off formal negotiations with the Danish government to work out all the practical details of becoming a separate nation.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, the story of Greenland is just a fascinating modern case study. It's about statehood, it's about post-colonial relationships, and it's about self-determination. It shows us a really unique model for how a nation can have deep autonomy while still being part of a larger kingdom, and it leaves us with a really compelling question for our time. How exactly do nations balance that delicate line between true self-governance and the benefits of a strategic partnership?